Watch this video if you want to learn what are 4 types of bad relationships and how to improve them. For the best relationship and dating advice, subscribe to my channel and make sure to hit that bell notification to be notified every time I upload a video. I'm Diana and I have a website called Better Topics dedicated to helping couples experience more love, joy, and connection. The first type of couple is the couple that always fights. Now, I'm sure either you are one of these people or you have definitely seen it in either friends, family, parents. We all have witnessed a couple that always fights, regardless who is there, regardless where they are. They don't really care. They just feel the need to actually shout at each other, and they feel that is the only way they communicate. Now, there are a few types of couples that always fight. There are the couples that genuinely have a problem and they cannot communicate, and there are those who actually don't think they have a problem and they think that's normal. Now, if you're one of those couples that think that's normal to shout at your partner and your partner back at you, and you are happy with that, then good for you. However, please be mindful that especially when you argue in a public place, you might disturb a lot of people around you. Not everyone needs to be a witness to your arguing, really, unless you're one of those people who like to draw attention to themselves, which it's possible, and if you're happy with that, then go ahead. But if you're one of those couples who are genuinely frustrated and you feel you have to lash out at your partner because otherwise your point doesn't get across, you should just be mindful of a few key points of how you can actually change that situation so that you don't get upset to a certain level that you actually feel you need to shout and still get your point across to your partner. Now, in doing this, obviously there are a few steps because each relationship is different, each partner is different, and also it matters for how long you've been doing this. Because if this is the only way you know how to communicate, and your partner as well knows only this one way to communicate with you, then obviously you have to work on it a bit more, to redress the situation. If this shouting problem just came about recently, it's a lot easier to actually revert back and don't make it a habit. The first thing you should actually do is to try to understand why is it that you get so upset about something that either your partner did or said. Because you see, most times in these type of couples, most times when people start shouting and arguing, it just starts from a tiny thing, really. Maybe they just misplaced a glass, maybe they just left, their socks around again. But usually it's the last straw that flips the cart. Now, my advice to you is that you should just look at the flipped cart and then try to understand what is it that actually led to this build-up of negative emotions towards your partner. Is it that they are repeatedly not listening to you, but then again, how are you communicating with them? Or is it that they don't care about the things you're telling them? And again, you have to be mindful of how is it that you tell them or ask things from your partner. Generally, if we ask anything from anyone in a very nice and pleasant way, they're more likely to do that, especially if they know they won't be criticized for it, even if they don't get it right the first time. However, if they know that whatever they do, it won't be good enough, they will just not do it. Also, if, for example, the situation is a build-up of tiny different things that your partner either missed or didn't do, they might actually have a reason for that. And why not just try to understand what their reasoning behind it is? Once you will see the situation from their point of view, you will actually have more insight into how they actually operate and why is it that they haven't done certain things or they've done it in a certain way which upset you. Another thing that I would like to mention is because generally we are the only person we can actually change, this is why I'm asking you to actually pay attention to your reactions first. If you change your reactions, your partner will most likely follow and change their reactions as well. Therefore, if in a distressing situation your first go-to reaction is not shouting anymore, but just staying still for a second and trying to take the information in and understand what is actually happening before having a reaction, and try to have a positive action towards whatever is happening, then your partner as well is most likely not to end up either isolating themselves from you, shutting down, or even lashing back. This actually encourages a healthier communication between you and your partner. Now, there are certain people who say that they cannot just help it, and for example, they just come home, they're very already stressed, hangry, that can be a reason as well why you keep lashing out, or just very tired generally, and then they see the smallest thing and that's it. It just flips their card, and then they just start lashing out at whoever they see first. Now, if you know yourself of being one of these people, then that is okay. At least you acknowledged it, and then at least you can work on it. What I would suggest is, on your way home, either grab a drink or have some healthy snack in your bag that you can actually munch on until you get home, so you're not hungry to that state that you become hangry and then just lashing out at people. Many times, if we are not hungry or thirsty or tired, then we are more likely to actually listen to our partner and try to understand the situation and not get triggered by the smallest thing. Now, if your partner has an attitude that just triggers you all the time and they just start bickering and then that just makes you lash out, you have to address this with your partner. You have to tell them, even if you need to tell them repeatedly, the fact that them telling you a certain thing repeatedly or in a certain way, it's not gonna help, and you are not going to engage in that argument. Because you see, if you start an argument, your partner engages in that argument at the same level, it just tends to escalate until it just blows up into something a lot bigger that it shouldn't be really. Whereas if one of the partners stops engaging, the argument will not reach very big proportions. Therefore, if you know you're in one of these relationships where partners keep arguing with each other about everything and anything, and if you don't like this state, you have to be very proactive about it and take some steps to actually, first of all, not to get yourself in such a state where you have no other option and you feel you have to shout for your opinion to be heard. And second of all, not to engage if the argument is actually started by your partner. And try to find better communication ways with your partner. Now, being in a relationship with a certain person, you kind of know what triggers them and when is actually the best moment of the day or the week when you can actually sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation and go through, all the problems that have been in your relationship. Now, I know there is this expression that especially couples that have been together for ages keep saying that don't go to bed angry at each other. I would actually don't agree with that. For example, a few weeks ago, me and my husband had this almost an argument. He did something that really, really upset me. I came home, I wasn't very hungry, and I just started lashing out at him without any apparent reason from his side, but I had obviously my reasons. At that point, he got upset and then he just left the room. So he refused to actually engage with me in that argument, which I later on understood that if he would have, the argument would have been blown out of proportions and we would have ended up saying things to each other that we would have later regretted. Now, you have to keep in mind that once you say certain words, although you might ask for forgiveness, you have said them, you cannot actually take them back. So this is why it's very important to be careful of the words we are saying especially towards our partner. After that episode, after I had some food, I've actually sat down with myself and thought about the situation and actually felt very sorry. Now, my husband actually wanted to discuss this later on in the evening, but I told him, I'm sorry, I'm still very upset about this. I need some time to actually calm down, sleep it off, and I'll talk to you when I'm ready to talk to you. So the next day morning, we actually, started talking about it, and then I've told him my point of view, why that certain situation upset me that much. And then he told me his point of view as to why he actually didn't see any problem with the thing that he's done. But once he has understood my point of view and why did I feel so hurt about it, he understood and he apologized and he promised he won't do it again. Now, you see, in this situation, the fact that we gave each other a bit of space was actually very useful because I got to calm down and then we had this normal adult-like conversation where we actually could express, our ideas and our feelings as well, and why have I felt very hurt about that situation and why he actually didn't see any problem in it. Therefore, having a heart-to-heart conversation with your partner regularly, it's advised. But especially if you want to avoid arguments in your relationship, you have to first look at yourself and your reactions, try to transform them from a reaction to a positive action towards that specific situation that is happening, and then try to find the best way and timing of when to discuss things with your partner. Okay, and now we are at the second type of couple. The couple that talks about marriage and kids way too early. And I mean second date early or third, depends. Now I understand you can actually meet one person and think, oh my god, I'm in love, this is the perfect person, I want to spend my life with them forever. I can understand that. I felt something similar when I've actually met my now husband, Robert. However, we didn't speak about children or long-term plans until we actually got to know each other a bit more and try to understand whether are we actually a really good fit to be in a relationship together, and do we have similar goals, similar values, and all sorts of things. Later on, yes, we did have discussions about marriage and children as well. However, it wasn't until a few months into the relationship. Now, the issue with couples that are talking way too early about marriage and children is that they haven't taken enough time to know the other person. Yes, if children and marriage is very important to you, it's okay to actually put it out there quite early in the relationship, especially in the getting to know you phase of the relationship, which is great, but not when you're on the first or second or maybe third date. I mean, obviously it depends how well the date goes and how well you know the person before you have the date. But if it's someone who you've just met recently and you're just getting to know them, some people might actually get scared off if you talk about marriage and kids at, the first date. That doesn't mean they're not serious. It just means that, you might seem as you're rushing into a relationship when you're just at the phase of getting to know you. So some people might actually get put off by this. Other people might appreciate it, but you see, you have to take a bit of time to assess which type of person are they. And I would suggest for you to actually leave this discussion for a bit later on, once you actually establish that you want to be in a relationship and you actually like each other and you're calling each other boyfriend, girlfriend now, then I think is the best moment to actually say, by the way, for me it's very important to be marriage orientated and to want kids in the future. Now, if you already have kids, then obviously this is something that you can discuss on the first date. If you're already married, I don't think you should have a date anyway, unless it's with your wife or husband. Again, if you're just like a normal couple that just met someone and you just started going out now, I would take my time to get to know the person, see what they like, do they have similar values. And usually when you do this and you take it step by step and you let the other person, reveal who they are, things like this come across as a discussion, and it might be even your partner who actually brings this up. Now, if you're okay to having this discussion early on, that is perfect. If you're unsure if this is the right partner for you to talk about marriage and children, then you might say something like, I am just not sure at the moment, and just defer it for later on. Now, if you're that couple who are both of you very enamored with each other and you want to get married straight away and have children and everything, make sure that when you choose that partner you want to marry, you're doing it for the right reasons. Not just because, oh my god, I found this person, he's willing to marry me now and have kids now, and that's all I want. So basically, you should aim for having a partnership and a relationship with someone rather than just being married and having kids. And the reason why I say this is because so many people rush into getting married, and then later on they actually discover they might not even like the person, or they're not as compatible as they thought they were. They just wanted to get married very fast, and they end up having kids, and then they end up divorcing, and then they end up having a lot of issues, and then kids who are basically in the middle of parents either fighting for their custody or having always to move them from one house to another house. Now, I'm not blaming and I'm not saying that you should never get divorced. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we should aim for a healthy relationship before actually thinking of marriage and children, because children develop best in a healthy relationship environment. And it is also better for you as a parent because it makes you happier, therefore more likely to express that happiness towards your partner and your children as well, and everyone around you, and make you overall a better person that people want to be around, rather than wanting to avoid because you're always bitter and just not a nice person overall. Therefore, if you find yourself in a situation where you are talking way too early about marriage and children, make sure this is actually what you want, and make sure the person you are talking to about this is the right person for you to go into a stable and healthy relationship, and also wanting to raise children together. Now let me know in the comments below if you know any couples that match these criteria. Now let's continue with our types of couples. The Insta selfie couple, how I call them, or the couple that always posts everything about their relationship. Now don't get me wrong, I post about my relationship sometimes, and my husband as well, which is great because the social media platforms are actually platforms built to keep in touch with friends, family, especially if you live away from your family. It's an easy way to actually share things with your friends and family, especially if you're away, especially if you're working on something. And it's just with a click of a button, you just share one thing with everyone. It's great. However, try not to overdo it. And I've actually seen a quote recently on Facebook, and it said, a sign of a healthy relationship is no sign of it on Facebook. Which in a way, it's actually right. Because if you have time to always constantly post pictures and take the pictures and the videos together with your partner and everything, when do you even have time to enjoy the actual relationship and being with your partner? If all you're doing all the time is taking pictures, videos, and then posting them on Facebook and then commenting to everyone, which although it might sound like, oh, I'm just going to do one comment, I'm just going to reply to this person, it actually adds up, and before you know it, you've spent 3-4 hours on Facebook rather than spending that time with your partner. Now, another downside to always posting about your relationship and giving out too much information about your relationship is that in case you might split up or anything, and then you post about that on Facebook, people might actually have an opinion about it and might comment in it in a way that might actually upset you. And then you'll be like, well, why do these people care? Because you posted everything. So this is why you have to be careful of the things you post. Make sure that once they are posted, they are out there, and you cannot really control what's happening and who sees it, what they say about it, and so on. Now, obviously, if you don't care of what people say, then yes, it's fine, carry on doing what you've been doing so far. But if comments on social media platforms upset you or trigger you, then it might be time to actually focus on your relationship rather than showing other people you have a great relationship. Who is it that you're trying to impress with your perfect relationship? Because at the end of the day, no relationship is perfect. All of them have ups and downs. And yes, obviously we are trying to have more ups than downs. But if you keep posting too much about your relationship, this just leads to an idea of you want to prove something to someone. And why is it that you feel you need to prove to other people that you are happy? Again, don't take this to the extreme. I'm not saying not to post anything about your relationship, because I post as well once in a while, but keep it to a healthy level of posting. Now, if you ask me what the healthy level is, well, comment below and let me know what your version of a healthy level of posting about your relationship is. The fourth type of relationships are the long distance, I've never seen you type relationship, or you've got catfished. Now, we all had that one friend, or it's been even us, who knows, that we felt, it is something odd. We've met this person online, which is great, we hit it off and everything seems fine, but then they are a bit too early in saying, oh my god, I love you and I cannot live without you, or talking as if you would be already in a relationship and just sending you these amazing pictures. But every time you want to either have a video call or a Skype or a FaceTime call or whatever, to actually see each other, their either phone is broke, internet is not good, they're not made up, they don't have makeup on, or whatever else reason they find, really. And just to avoid that, however, in messaging you and replying you, they are actually quite fast and very loving. Now, this is okay, for a while, and Some people might actually be shy to show themselves on camera, especially if they're someone known from the internet or anything. However, be very mindful if someone is actually not making the effort of either fixing their webcam, their phone, or whatever, just to prove to you that they are a real person, you're most likely catfished. And if you have a friend like this, well, the only thing you can do is to be supportive and try to explain that it is a bit strange, the fact that they haven't seen this person. Don't be surprised if your friend will actually try to dismiss you when you tell them anything like this. Because when you're the person in that situation where you are catfished, first of all, you wouldn't want to actually believe it's happening to you and it's real, although it might be. And second of all, you want to feel like you're important to someone and someone actually cares about you. And that is a good thing. We all want to feel like that. However, just make sure you are not actually dragged into something that is not real, first of all, and don't let other people take advantage of you. Now, how to know you've been catfished? Well, there are so many other videos online that you can actually research and see how other people discovered they've actually been catfished. And again, it's fine. Don't get very upset about it. Don't think, oh, this is only happening to you and why is it happening to you? It happened to so many people before is unreal. So it's just that not everyone talks about it. But trust me, there are so many people out there that have been catfished at any point of their life. Therefore, try not to give out any very personal details to anyone online unless you have met them in person and you know them. And second of all, don't ever send them any money for anything, because most likely that is a catfish phrase where they might not have money to come and see you or buy a camera or a phone or whatever else. And third, if they're not making that much effort to actually show themselves to you or show themselves properly to you, to show you that they are a real person and they are the person from the pictures they've sent you, then you are most likely catfished and you should just stop the conversation. And you should be very firm on your position as in asking them to either have a proper video call with them or you just stop talking to them and then move on. I know sometimes it might be difficult, especially if you've invested some feelings into it and time into it. However, trust me, on the long run, you're doing yourself a favor if you cut the ties as early on as you see the red flags. Many times when we are in this type of situation, we tend to see the red flags but ignore them. However, once we are past the situation and we look back, many times we're like, oh, but I've seen this red flag, I've seen that, but you haven't done anything because deep down inside you hope someone actually likes you and that you are that special person that they will not lie to. Again, so many people have been catfished is unreal and very upsetting. However, you have to be very careful of who you're talking to online especially and who you're giving to personal information to. I hope you like these 4 types of relationships. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to cover any other type of relationships, especially that are not so, let's say, healthy relationships, and if you want to know how you can actually get around to improving those. Now, if you want to join a community of like-minded people who are interested in improving their relationship or even finding the right person, join our Facebook group where I post tips and tricks of how to improve your relationship and or find the right person. Again, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button below.